So when did the Civil War actually end? A lot of people think it ended with Robert E. Lee, Ulysses S. Grant. I can never say his first name. Ulysses. There you go. Ulysses S. Grant. Here I am supposed to be a channel about preserving history, art, great music, culture, and I can't even pronounce somebody's name right. So at any rate, welcome back to the channel. Culture Confederacy here. It's late Thursday night, just after midnight. Sorry I didn't post anything yesterday. I usually post something Wednesdays, but I had jury duty yesterday. Didn't get selected, but I made into the last two groups. So it was the last 24 people. And some of the excuses you'll hear. I can't hold it in, Your Honor, for an hour. I can't. I got to take medication for my bladder. Did you not? That was the excuse people were using. So at any rate, so let's get into this. A lot of people think that when Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox, there I said that right, the Appomattox Courthouse, that is when the Civil War ended. It actually went on for about another 16 months. And Texas plays an odd role here because once everything was said and done, all these Southerners fled to Texas because Texas wasn't as affected by the war as, let's say, states like Alabama, Georgia, Florida. So the Civil War didn't really end until August 20th, 1866. And the reason for this is because, again, Texas had not quite formed its new state government yet. And President Andrew Johnson, months earlier, I think back in April, had issued this proclamation that the Civil War had ended. But because Texas was in this process of trying to reestablish their government, or they were still holding out, whatever they were doing back then, the war hadn't come to an end yet. I was going to say the end hadn't come to war yet. There you go. The end hadn't come to war yet. No. I'm having fun here. So a lot of this was confusion. This is a time when all you had was telegraph, newspapers. I guess they were too busy fighting they didn't get the memo. So according to my notes here, one of the reasons why, of course, this didn't end was not just because of Texas. It's because you had different units in the Confederacy. So they were much more spread out than people think. A lot of people think the Confederate Army was this huge army that fought against the Union. It's not true. They had individual units. So General Joseph E. Johnston was in charge of the second largest army, which was the Army of Tennessee. And he surrendered to Sherman. He had roughly about 90,000 troops. 90,000. He surrendered in North Carolina after General Sherman captured Raleigh. And, of course, this pushed Johnston's troops westward. He was back against a wall, knew he was in a corner. So he had no choice but to surrender. But news of Lee's surrender did not reach General Johnston until April 12th. So basically 3 days later. Yeah, the mail was really slow back then. Now, other battles involved here include under the command of Richard Taylor. You had 10,000 men under Richard Taylor, who was the son of President Zachary Taylor. And you had the regiment under Nathan Bedford Forrest. I believe this was in Alabama, where they were fighting at the time. And this fighting continued west of the Mississippi River. So in Brownsville, Texas, May 12th, this was 1866, you had Colonel John Rip Ford's 350 Confederate soldiers who defeated 800 Union troops at the last land battle of Palmetto Ranch. How many people know about that battle? And there were some battles that actually took place out in places like Arizona, New Mexico. You know, California. I lived in Northern California for a while. part of California was seriously considering joining the Confederacy. One of the issues was the gold, all the minerals, resources in California. If you've lived there, you know there's a lot of resources, water, water rights, that sort of thing. And there's a very famous story among Californians, local story, happened in happened in Sacramento, not Modesto, but in Sacramento, where there was somebody who supported the Union and somebody who supported the Confederacy, and he was sporting a Confederate battle flag in downtown Sacramento, and the guy ripped the flag out of his hand. But then you also had what was happening in Oklahoma, Indian Territory, with Brigadier General Stan Whitey, or is it Whitey? And he kept his troops in the field. This was the first Native American to fight. And this included the Seminole, the Cherokee. I'm trying to remember what other Native groups were in this, but it was the Seminole, the Cherokee, any of the southern tribes in that area. And of course, the reason they were fighting was not just because they were supporting the South, but because the federal government was threatening to take their land, so they were trying to protect their land. You have groups like the Cherokee Braves, which had their own flag, by the way, which looks like the Confederate flag, well, the Confederate national flag. So what else do I have in my notes here? I know I'm doing this late, doing this in one take tonight, so just bear with me. Now, Stan Whitey kept his troops in the field for almost a month after Lieutenant General E. Kirby Smith's Trans-Mississippi Army fell apart. That was around June 23rd. And then you had the CSS Shenandoah, which was a former British trade ship in the Bering Sea. When they got word of this, which was in 1865, in August of 1865, they officially shut down their guns on the ship, what have you, stowed those away, and they surrendered. Not really surrendered, but they understood that the war was over, and they actually, believe it or not, they fled to Liverpool. They went to Liverpool. So that's really what happened with the Civil War here. It didn't end when Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse. It actually happened almost 16 months later. So just to clear the air tonight, as we correct the record on history, as I said again, I'm doing this in one take, doing this late. Boy, that was a grueling 3 or 4 hours dealing with jury duty yesterday. But I thought this was cool. Thought I'd share it with the audience. And the reason I'm doing this is because, believe it or not, Saturday is actually Confederate Memorial Day. I mean, people know a lot of these Memorial Day traditions, but they had some in the North happening. But a lot of these traditions, the majority of them actually started in the South for Memorial Day. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. I might do a video about that tomorrow, about Confederate Memorial Day. I don't know yet. Because there's an article, I think at the Carlton, I forget what town it is, City Ledger. But I'll share that with you if I'm able to do that video tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed this video here. If you did, you know what to do. You can follow me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes, because I write music in my spare time. Go to X, Culture Confederacy, Culture Confederate 1 on X. Find me at Substack. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Thursday night. Take care.